Is this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this for you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella came in and said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because, you know, there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.
Hello everybody and welcome to the live stream on a Sunday. Hope you've all had a good weekend and I hope you're sort of ready for next week at work. And I say it every week. I don't think you will be, because who likes work? But great to be here and great to be sharing a bit of information with you guys. And without you, there's nothing to share, is there? We've had some good reports in over the last week or so. Brilliant big cat report where I went to interview Nick at Leven earlier in the week, and I'll tell you a little bit about that shortly. And an absolutely incredible UFO report that from, I think it was 2019, but I'm not going to go into massive detail about that one because I've already spoke to the guy, I've filmed him, and it's just an amazing report, and I'll have more information on it. We might be able to do a bit more on that on Sunday. But as always, I want some questions in capital letters, please. You've got me for first hour, and then we're going to be speaking, saying we, as though there's 2 of us. I'm going to be speaking with Garad Pratt, and he's going to be talking about his life, I suppose, lifelong experiences, his experiences with astral travel and spirit, and combination of many things that he's going to share with us. And obviously he's in the process of just completing his 2nd book. He's going to tell us something about that as well. So we've had Gerard on before, absolutely enthralling man, loads and loads to share with us. So there's going to be no shortage this time. Hopefully that will be about around 8 o'clock time. But let's just have a look who's in chat, shall we? And let's have a look. Karen Behrman, Dragonborn. I see Gemma's doing moderating. Thanks, Gemma. Jojo, thanks for the donation, Jojo. That's really kind of you. Andrew Wild, Blue Shift Rob, good to see you, Blue Shift. Dot Martin, good to see you, Martin. Married to the KGB, Alien 8 UK, good to see you. Vorpa Blade, excellent, great to see you as well. I think Linny's in. Good to see you, Ian and Mrs. Linny. Clifftop Pete, Mia Girl, I hope you're okay. Rod. Davos Pork Pie. I wish you wouldn't just keep making these long names, or you're just going to get called a number. You'll just be 6180 in future. Only joking. Right, we've got 5217. I weren't joking, were I? There's Michael and Kirsty. So yeah, loads of people in already. We've got 230 people in here, and that's absolutely brilliant. Really appreciate obviously the support, guys. But remember, it's your live stream. I'm wanting some questions in capital letters. But earlier in the week, went to Leven, went to meet up with Nick, who took me on location, should we say, which will be a short YouTube film in next week or so, where he saw a big cat about 2 years ago, and driving down the road with his work colleague. I put a little teaser on YouTube. You'll be able to find it after this if you're interested enough. And this cat crosses the road, and it's long, it's unmistakable. It's a black cat. It's in about 9 a.m. In the morning. Huge long tail that sort of curves down to the floor. And you know the drill. Everybody knows the description of what I'm on about. There's no mistaking what he's seen, and he's with someone else. Now, what makes this really interesting for me, and this is part of the reason I love putting these short films out, is that I've been emailed again today by someone who's watched it, and they're telling me that they've also seen it in the same place. Now, I'm not going to go into details. I'm not going to fill any blanks in. There's a little bit in email, but I don't think it's fair until I've spoke to it, man. So I love this because it validates what Nick's talking about. Because you stick your head above parapet, and it's not unexplained phenomena, is it? It's not a cryptid, it's not a UFO, but Nick's been kind enough and brave enough, should we say, to talk about this cat that he saw on camera. And this is what it's about. Someone else has stepped forward and said, I've seen it as well. They saw it in 2019. What's fascinating, if you guys don't know Leven, it's East Yorkshire. It's I don't know, it's about 12 miles from where I'm sat now, maybe not even that. And I've had reports from Leven before. There's a bypass, and I've had reports from the Leven bypass of people seeing a big cat there. It's got a bit same animal. Well, what do you think? I mean, I'm no expert, but I would think it is. But if we can get more people coming forward, it just adds more meat to the bone of what Nick's shared with us during the week. So we want your big cat sightings as well. Meanwhile, we've been up on cliff tops. We've not really seen anything. There's not really been anything to report, and it's been like that, well, for weeks and weeks. There's little bits of strangeness that's occurred. Michael come down. He's not the strangeness, by the way. Michael come down and spent a bit of time with us on Friday, which were great. Always good to see Michael. I see Mel's in as well, and let's have a look. Michael Simmons is in. Jonathan Chapman. I missed that one. It just went up. Carl Danzing. Good to see you, Carl. And 9693. So, yeah. So give us some questions in capital letters, please. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this huge diamond-shaped UFO encounter that I was told last week, back end of last week, and the guy kindly let me film him just sharing this incredible story. And just a little bit of background on it. He'd no interest in UFOs or the unexplained prior to that, none whatsoever, to the point where it would have annoyed him if someone spoke about the subject of UFOs and the unexplained. Literally would have annoyed him. He'd have walked out of the way. Everything's changed. Let's have a look. That's a bit of a question here. Let's have a look. Andrew Wild. Hello, Paul. Always a pleasure. Do we have any woodland visits with Chris Wright? I take it, do you mean, do I have any planned? Well, it's funny you should say that, because I went into Broxer Forest this morning. Probably why I look a little bit red. I were in there this morning, Andrew. We went in real early, and we did a few ravines, and it'll be quite interesting because one of them were just sheer. Slid down into it, and obviously, well, not obviously, but Chris has filmed me going down into it because we thought we were going to get down into this next ravine and up and out and into another. But when we got, I don't know, 100 yards up into it, trees had fell in and we couldn't get out. So we had to come out the same way we'd got in, but it were a little bit difficult. And I'll probably leave that bit in because I'm struggling a bit. We both are. So yeah, we've got some more visits planned. We've got some more trips planned for different locations. So it's always a pleasure. I really enjoy spending time, well, with everybody on cliff tops, and with Chris when we get into these woodlands. So yeah, thanks for putting that up. I weren't even going to mention it, to be honest with you. So that's Michael Turnbull. Is that even a question, Michael? I'm happy with strange. Yeah, I think we're all happy with strange, Michael. And the other week on the Truth Proof YouTube channel, I put that bit of footage up of what my daughter Sarah had filmed in her home. Kind of looks like when I talked about the Guinness being poured into a glass. So a lot of you guys in chat, unless you're new to Truth Proof, will know what I'm talking about. And I hope she manages to film it again. But something interesting happened today, or should I say yesterday, with one of my other daughters, Gemma, who's in chat now, who's doing moderating for us. And we've not got any visual to talk about, but I just found it fascinating that Sarah's got these strange occurrences, these strange things happening in her home, and then Gemma's had something unusual happen, which I'll play you a little recording of probably about a minute of what Gemma told me earlier today. Everything's a little bit rushed for me tonight. I didn't get back while late-ish, and I've got just put a few photographs on. I've put some of Gerard's book covers on. I haven't managed to get others on, so we'll work out them. But I've got Gemma's little bit of a recording, and you think to yourself, is there a connection here? And I don't know if there is or there isn't, but we'll play that. And before we do that, let's just stay with Sarah's. There's been loads of comments in chat. It's in the YouTube section of comments, and I really love the comments. Keep them coming, please, providing they're not rude, good or bad, negative. You don't have to believe what you're looking at, and that's all good. But to the people that think it's a vape or cigarette smoke, a Castella, there's been loads and loads of suggestions. Send me some footage. Please send me some footage of you replicating it and making it look like that. And I'm quite happy to play it, because it's no hardship if we solve this. I've already said they don't vape, they don't smoke, it weren't aerosol, all of those things. And, you know, I've already covered that, but it still doesn't matter, because somebody might be able to replicate that. And if you can, send it to me. We'll put it up here. And it's good, and people can make their own minds up, can't they? I think that's what it's all about. But so last night, Gemma's not really one for going on camera or anything, but last night she's watching a film with her partner, and they've had a few things happen in property. But if it continues, then I'll gather more information. But something happened that, shocked them, but shocked them. So let's just play Gemma telling me, it's about a minute, what happened, and is it paranormal? Here we go. Let's have a look. And the picture that's accompanying it, obviously it's got nothing to do with it. I've literally come in, sort of put the recording into this application and added a picture just to hold it together. So here we go. Have a listen to this, guys, and let me know what you think.
Last night, more or less a few minutes after it had happened, didn't it? And we were sat watching a movie, and the chair, like, the only way to describe it is like lean back and then hit the floor again.
This is a dining chair?
It like slammed back down.
Is this a dining chair?
Say that again, Dad.
Is this a dining room chair?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay. Well, and you're both certain that's what happened?
Definitely, because we did it after, like, tried to debunk it. It was the same sound.
Right.
And like Darren just said, he's a skeptic. He doesn't really believe in anything, but there's no disbelieving that.
There you go, guys. Obviously, I've no visual proof. You've just got somebody's word, but that's basically most of the stuff that we talk about is anecdotal. And she wouldn't ring me and tell me that her and her partner had seen that or heard that, and the chair leaning back and going back. I mean, dining room chairs don't do that. And then obviously it made quite a sound because it's onto laminate. So interesting, and we'll see how that one develops. That's all I can say to that. What do you think, guys? And I just want to touch on the cliff tops and the film that I made with Chris Mack. I don't know if Chris is in, because there's been a little bit of a development with that. And I don't know if we'll get to that in comments tonight or what, but let's just have a look. We've got a question here. Mike Collins. Good evening, Paul. Long time listener, but first time live. With all this disclosure talk, what happens to the billion-dollar industry that is created by secrecy, films, books, TV, etc.? Yeah, I don't know, Mike. You make a good point, but it might boom. It might spiral out of control, and there might be so much interest in the subject of the unexplained if this great unknown becomes known officially, that it has a positive effect. I don't know. It's difficult to say. I don't know whether we're ever going to see this, what people call disclosure, not in the form that a lot of people are expecting to see it, and not in the form that a lot of people want to see it. But there you go. Let's have a look. Watching from Hull, Andy Beach. I'm just going down. Just fire some questions at me, people. Let's have a look. Studio 211. Always good to hear this guy. Paul, what was the original catalyst for your cliff-top investigations, or was it a multitude of circumstances? Yeah, that's a good question. And years prior to starting to visit the cliff tops, were myself and Steve Ashbridge. I've said this quite a few times. We were spending lots and lots of time on the North Yorkshire and the East Yorkshire wolds, the moors and the wolds, looking at these strange orange spheres that people were reporting. It were a farmer up on Staxton Wold that got me not involved with subject, obviously, but involved with looking on the wolds, because this guy, as I've said before, had cameras on, moving cams that were just operating from all the upstairs windows of his home, and he'd got lots and lots of footage. But it died off. Things just went a bit flat up on the wolds. I think we were doing it from, 2004 to about 2009. And then we noted, myself and Steve noted, because we used to spend a lot of time at a place called Cotton, which is, it's probably about 15 miles from Bridlington inland. But you'd got a full 360. You could see RAF Staxton Wold. You could see towards the Vale of York and Friday-Thorpe. All locations I realise a lot of people aren't going to be familiar with. But more importantly, you could also see the North Sea and the Flamborough Lighthouse in the distance when it had the big beam that used to flash round. Now it's an LED, so you don't get that. But we noted that we were seeing the lights that we'd been seeing on the wolds all the way through from 2004 to 2009, and then beyond. We noted that we were seeing lights over towards Bempton and Flamborough, which were miles away in the distance. And when things died down up on the wolds, we sort of gravitated towards that area. And plus the fact that fishermen, Andy Barmby and other people were telling me that they'd been getting activity on cliff tops. There's a lot of fishermen. These reports don't start with me and end with me. There's lots of people. I'm treading in other people's footprints. Nobody owns this. It's this subject of the unexplained it belongs to all of us, and we've not got ownership on it, and there's a lot of people want to claim it, but we started going up onto the cliff tops, and we're looking for the light forms. We're looking for all sorts of strange things, and it were happening. And then obviously Bob Brown started coming up with us. I mean, I spoke to Bob yesterday, wanting to get up there again. So we're going to have to sort that and see how we're going with that one. But yeah, that's basically how we ended up up on the cliff tops of East and North Yorkshire. There's some interesting sightings, and it were deceptive as well, because there were one time that we were at Sarah's, our daughter's, which is close to Caton, and we're driving back. I got the camera in the boot. I'll just get rid of this question, Andy. I've got the camera in the boot. I'll take cameras everywhere with me. And as we're driving back and we're heading towards Filey, en route to Bridlington, the lights started to appear. And I really wish I'd have stopped the car and filmed them, because they looked like a big crescent. They were there for ages, these orange lights. Picture an half moon on its side, and Steve Ashbridge rang me from Hornsey. So 15 miles from Bridlington is Hornsey, and we were approximately 15 miles from Bridlington, where we were at Caton. So he's 30 miles away. And he's on the phone as me and my wife are driving. Me and Mary, I'm driving back, and he's speaking to me on the phone. And he's telling me he's looking at these lights, and he's describing them as looking like a crescent moon in the sky. And I'm looking at him 30 miles away from him, and he's saying he thinks they're over Hornsey, and I'm saying I think they're over, between Filey and Bempton. So it just shows the deceptiveness of when we're looking at things in this, and we were definitely looking at the same objects. So that were interesting in itself. I chose to take my wife home and go up to Bempton alone and see if I could film them. It was wrong move, actually. I should have stopped the car and filmed from where I was. But we've sort of moved on quite a bit from that original question. Let's have a look. What's this? Hi, Paul. Where's the best place to go in Bempton to see a UFO? I parked in the RSPB car park, had a little walk around as nearby today, but wasn't sure. Well, James, I don't really think there's a particularly best place to go, and I don't want to put you off. I mean, if you're there and you're looking for unexplained phenomena, obviously spend some time observing out over the sea. But, you know, I'd look at Speeton, I'd look from Flamborough Head. Although if you do go to North Landing, make sure you're paying that car park, because it'll take your number plate on way in and you'll be getting a fine on way out if you've not paid. But all good places, all the way along that coastline and further up the coast. And I don't want to say chances of you seeing out are slim, because I've always said many times that there's more probability of seeing something there, I think, than anywhere else in country around this area. You know, you've got a good chance of seeing something, but even so, it's still a slim chance of seeing something. You know, your unexplained phenomena just simply does not perform to order. And if it were as simple as every time you go out you see something, it wouldn't be unexplained, would it? And there'd be no, is thrill the right word? There'd be no thrill in going and having a look for this stuff. But I'd just say, just find a good vantage point overlooking the sea, James, and obviously keep yourself safe, keep away from edges of cliffs and things, and stay on public land, and everything will be good. I can't see you having a problem. And think, what's that? Fingers crossed you might get lucky. Let's have a look. We'll go down here, and then what's this? Rick Allen, that's the same energy that your daughter, that's the same energy that your other daughter caught on camera. Okay, Rick. Yeah, well, I'm not saying it isn't, Rick. Do you know, I'm hoping something else develops, and I've got something else to tell you in a week or so's time. I might end up sending Gemma a camera down or something, you know, and just seeing whether she can document anything. And you could be right. It might be the same energy. I know you're sat in your chair now, Rick, going, no, Paul, I am right. It is. But, you know, would you agree to disagree? Let me just have a bit of this. And let's have a look. Let's just go down a little bit. And before Gerard comes on, I want to show you this, what we've found from that nighttime visit at Speeton. Wow, very interesting, quite disturbing. Whatever these are can generate invisible energies like that. And I'd not considered that. Well, do you know, Neil, it's fascinating, isn't it, that the physical, the ability, and, you know, I've said there's not been much happening on the cliff tops, but I think Linny got poked or touched. Chris Mack did. And, you know, it's all you're getting is anecdotal evidence as such, aren't you? We've no proof other than our word. It didn't happen to me, I'll be honest with you, but we're all pretty, I believe we're all pretty trustworthy enough. And if one of us says something's happened, usually it has. And we do as damnedest to try and debunk it or try and find some logical answer to solve whatever it is. But yeah, it is quite disturbing, and the audible, you know, these voices from the outer nowhere. We've heard that up there, you know. My name's been called quite a few times up on them cliff tops, and I've heard it, and other people have heard it who've been with me, and, you know, Jack's been spoken to. It's almost like a mimic. It repeats what people have said a short time afterwards. It was like a bit like a minor bird, really, and it makes you wonder about its intelligence, doesn't it? You know, is it an intelligence, or is it just teasing us? Is it just playing with us? Who can say? Let's just go down here a little bit. Question. This is from Lee. Did you put smoke images at Sarah's capture in NAI? Keep up hard work. Did you put the smoke images at Sarah's capture in a... No, nothing. I don't know whether anybody's asked that question, Lee. That I've got the original raw footage, which were filmed on her phone, and there's nothing. There's nothing. No, it's just the original footage. There's no AI used or anything. Obviously, you're always going to get that thrown at you. But at the end of the day, if I've got the original footage, I'm quite happy. I'd send it to somebody else who'd want to look at it, providing Sarah had let me. But yeah, so yeah, okay, Lee. Right, so a question here from Linda. Gemma, did it scare you? obviously I can't speak for Gemma, but from speaking to her before I went out this morning, early doors, and then I got that bit of a recording and I just pushed that together real quick. I think it shocked them more than scared them, Linda. But Gemma might put that in the chat herself. And see Amelia's in. Good to see you, Janice K, Ben, and we've done Clifftop Pete and Rocket. Let's have a look. Let's go down here a little bit, guys. I'm mindful that Gerard's coming on in about half an hour, but I just want to get this. I want to see what you guys think of what I've found on the nighttime footage when I was with Chris Mack, because you'll have heard me and Chris saying we saw a figure, and then I'll put the torch on, take it off, and when I put it back on, the figure had gone within, I'd have said 4 or 5 seconds. Chris said it was less, and I found some on footage, so we'll get to that in a moment. Let's have a look. Jim Woolard. Paul, have you looked at getting some kind of drone with a 4K camera so you'll be able to get nearer to these light forms? Nighttime, you'll not. I've got 2 drones. I've got a DJI Neo and a 4K DJI, but you'll not get them up in dark. And plus the fact that it's a no drone fly zone up on them cliff tops, even more so now because obviously all the seabirds are nesting. And let's not forget that it's an RSPB sanctuary, and we've got to be respectful of that, which is what we are really. We're always. But yeah, I get what you're saying there, Jim. But there's other things as well. And this isn't directed at you, Jim. People will say to us, "Oh, why don't you try this camera or try that camera?" We've got really good night vision cameras, and we struggle, and you get a bit of footage and people say, "Oh, quality is really poor." People don't realize that's a lot of the times these images that we're capturing are in absolutely pitch black conditions, and we're lucky to actually manage to film what we've got. So it's not always as easy as saying, get a, I don't know, invest in a really good camera. We use Psionics cameras. We've got those cheaper low light cameras, which are quite useful. I take a 4K Sony camera with me. We've got thermal cameras and infrared cameras. We spend a lot of money and a lot of time up there trying to capture the phenomena. But let's have a look. I suppose a thermal drone would be brilliant if that's what you're getting at, and we can't afford one. What's this Ian Linney question? Paul, one night the man from Wetwang phoned you saying he could see it. Yeah, you're spot on, Ian. So I can see where Ian's going with this. So Ian's example, I see Yoggles as in. Good to see you. And let's have a look. Vapor Blade 9268. Right. So Ian's referring to Wetwang, which would probably be, I don't know, it's got to be 50 from Bempton. It's probably 20 miles away. And I've just give you an example of me being at Caton, me and my wife, seeing the lights over the sea, and I'm thinking they're in between Filey and Bempton. Steve Ashbridge being at least 30 miles away at Hornsey, ringing me up to tell me he can see the lights. He's described the crescent of lights, which is what we're looking at. He thinks they're close to Hornsey. So there's kind of it just shows you how mistaken you can be. We're not mistaken about what we're looking at, but the distances involved and the actual locations we can be, because as Ian's just said, we were up on the cliff tops. We could see these lights as they were appearing out over the sea. And the guy, and we're describing them and the rough size, and we know what we're looking at. And when I said we're describing them, I got a phone call from a man in Wetwang. It's a crazy name for a village, isn't it? But that's its real name. So we're looking at least 20 miles away, maybe a little bit more. And he's describing seeing them. And he says, I'm looking towards Bempton. I think I'm looking in the Bempton direction, because obviously you can't see the sea. Or I'm saying, obviously, I don't think you can. There's too much land in the way and obstacles, but they're up in air and he can see them. And he's saying they're roughly sized. They look like a pea or at arm's length and all that, but that's what we're looking at. So he's looking at the same thing. Yet comparatively, they look identical. So it is, it just shows that we can be mistaken about where we think these things are. So let's have a look. Tony Worrell, good to see you, Tony. Paul, what do you think disclosure would be like? I don't think there will be a big disclosure. Maybe something from ancient times proving Earth had been visited in the past, or moon object, the past or moon object. I honestly believe, Tony, that we're already in the midst of disclosure. I really do. Everything's normalized as regards the images of what we perceive an alien grey to look like, or an alien. We'll not say an alien grey per se, but an alien. And you know, I mean, look at that at back of me, Night People, cover of my book, and that's the shape of the things that I saw. But that's been the shape of things throughout time. If you look at biblical images and depictions of what people would consider these things as demons or sort of dark entities, they don't look that unlike what people would consider those things to look like, do they? I don't know what disclosure will be like, and I don't know if we're going to get it. Everything seems to be just kick that ball a little bit further down. I'll tell you what I did think of, and I don't know what you guys, how you guys or what you think to this, but we've got lots and lots of good footage, really good footage. I touched on it the other week, but I hadn't spoke to Linny. I hadn't spoke to anybody else really in any detail on Clifftops about it, but I'll throw it out there now and we can talk about it tomorrow when we go out. But I thought that I'll have a go at contacting people within the subject who are quite high profile, and tell them that we're going to do a live stream and we're going to discuss the footage. We're not going to put vast quantities of it out. Let's face it, when we're looking at these releases of UFO footage and all this other stuff that they're showing, they're not showing us a movie. They're only showing us little clips. And I want to see how what we've filmed compares to what's apparently the cutting edge of UFO footage that's been released. And I'll see who I can get on board. If people think that's a good idea, I'll see what I can do. And if lads on Clifftops are up for it, we could get a panel of people and we can discuss the footage. And I'll get some independent people in to discuss the footage. I thought about it for a few days. Maybe get Don to chair it rather than myself. And so yeah, we just want to kick about there, guys, and just throw at you. Listen, let's have a look. We've still got time. I just want to put this up. Married to the kid. Hi, I would like to know what growled at me as a kid in the woods that vibrated my insides. Wow. And he was in the back garden. It was demonic and sounded and surround sound. Do you know get in touch with me later, because I really am fascinated with these kind of accounts. Gemma, who I've just spoken about, KGB, she were on the Clifftops with me and Bob 2020, February 7th, 8th, 2020. Came back to our home during the evening when we'd gone to bed, myself and Gemma's mum. Something growled at the back of her head that reverberated her insides, just like what you've said. There's a lady who was in Danes Dyke. I can't remember the year, but I do want to contact these people. I've still got the numbers. And she's with her brother and her young son. Brother and young son are playing. It's near the entrance of Danes Dyke. They're walking out, but it's near the entrance where you drive in, because it's on a big horseshoe. Because I got that wrong for a few years when they said they were on way out. I'm thinking they're on other road at top. Not that that matters to you guys, but she said she's watching her brother playing with her son, and on her shoulder, something growled in her ear that reverberated her insides and terrified her. Brother didn't hear it, little boy didn't hear it, and she did. Absolutely terrified her. What is it that can create this kind of sound? The sound's so visceral that it reverberates in the internal organs of your body. That's brilliant. And I know it must have been a frightening thing to experience when I'm saying that's brilliant, but more reports like this, please, because we can build a catalogue, and it just tells us the reality of what you're talking about. Thanks for sharing that. Let's have a look. Thanks for questions, guys. Really appreciate this. I will do until I get one that tells me to turn computer off, because I don't read them. Once I see them in caps, I just put them up. I just assumed that Gemma and Lee have had a look. Hi, Paul. Have you had any recent dogman sightings or been told any? Thank you. Do you know this? Sorry, Liam. It's not. I'm not even being vague. I've got stuff coming out of my ears, information, and there will be some reports. But I think the recent ones, Liam, are historic. But that don't make them any less interesting, does it? You know, when we went into Broxer this morning, we started at Silfo, and we've done a short film, and we've talked about black dog law. I know this don't relate to your question, and you know the things of folklore, the huge phantom hounds, the different counties, different areas have different names for these hounds, phantom hounds. You know, because in North Yorkshire, it's often called the Barguest or the Bearguest, because sometimes it's said to appear as a bear. You've got the Padfoot, you've got the Shrieker, the what did they call it? Good God, there's a whole list of names for these Black Shuck. That's what we're looking for, and I think we're looking at the same thing. I think we're looking at the same thing throughout time. I know there's going to be people disagreeing with me and saying, no, Dogman's a totally different entity to what people are seeing in the forests and woodlands. But we've got traits and characteristics, in my opinion, that run through it all. The ability to appear and then suddenly disappear, the self-illuminating eyes. But I know that's not your question, Liam. I've not got one to share with you at this particular time, though, but there are some, but they'll be historic. Let's have a look. Outer limits. Paul, interesting experience as always. Thank you, Chris. That's very good of you, mate. And I thought it was a question then, Chris. Well, it don't matter, but thanks. Let's have a look. Right. Let's do this. Let's do this, because if I don't do it, I'll probably not get to it, because Gerard will appear and we'll get him on. So a few months ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, myself and Chris Mack, it must be maybe 8 weeks ago, I don't know, we went up onto the cliff tops at Speeton during the night for a walk, not looking for unexplained phenomena. We're just soaking up the atmosphere. It's great. I love night walking. So we parked at Speeton, set off along the cliff tops, you know, just doing our thing. You'll have heard me talk about it the other week. I said, at midpoint, I put the torch on. We've got the torch on quite a bit, but there's no fence along the edge of the cliffs at certain places up along them cliff tops, and there's no second chances. They're literally a sheer drop. And kept putting torch on. Put a torch on, and we both agreed that there's a figure stood in the distance, not miles away. It's there. You can see a head and the shoulders. You can't really see arms, and you can't see legs. It's as though there's a long coat on it, but it didn't look like a coat. Sorry for being so vague. So we're looking at it, and I think you can hear me on film saying, I wonder if it's farmer, because there's farms inland about half a mile inland. So I wonder if we've created a bit of attention walking along cliff tops with torches. Bearing in mind, we're allowed; it's not private land. So that was the initial thought, but it weren't facing us. Whoever it was, we couldn't see a face. So I said, you watch. I said, I'm going to turn the torch off. I'll turn it back on. He'll have gone. I'm joking. Turn the torch off, turn it back on. He'd gone. So we were a bit blown away. I was more shocked than Chris, I've got to admit. And I swept the torch around. It's right on edge of cliffs. So if he's gone left as we're looking at him, he's gone over the cliff. And if he's gone right, we're going to see him because it's just open farmland. So there's nothing. So we walk up to where it was. Then we walk back to try and... What we're trying to do is like what Gemma said earlier with that chair. We're trying to debunk it. Thought, are we mistaken here? Let's go back to where we stood. We took note of where we were stood. And let's go back and put torch on again and see whether there's something that's going to give the impression that there's somebody stood there. Nothing. However, loads and loads of... And then when we walked over the brow of the hill, a short time later, a light appeared. And we got I got loads of comments in it saying it was light of a rock concert and a vehicle. Lots and lots of comments, which I value your comments, guys. Don't stop sending them. But obviously, you can only comment based on what you can see. And being as it's nighttime, you're not going to be able to pass a lot of comment. So I went back a couple of weeks ago, probably a week and a half ago, to film it in daylight for you guys, to answer some of the comments, why it weren't a rock band, because there's just nothing there, and a car. I'm not saying I know what it was. Still could be an earthly explanation, without a doubt, but I don't know what it is. So I went back in daylight, and as I'm walking, I do the exact walk, and I'm walking and talking as I do. And when we get to certain markers, should we say, like where there's a sign and it says, you know, Speeton or anything, I threw some of the night footage in, you know, it's the 20 seconds of the night footage to show the comparisons, and carried on walking. I got to where we'd seen the figure in daylight, and then I put a bit of nighttime footage in. Now then, only put about, you're going to see it in a minute, only put about, I don't know, we're going to put about 10 seconds in. Just to compare, this is where we stood, and this is daylight, and this is where it is now. When I looked at this nighttime footage, there's a shadow moves across in front of us. Bear in mind, we stood still. I've got the torch, and I've got the camera. Chris is to my left-hand side. Now, I've put this, it's as rough as I've just chucked it together, to be honest, for you guys tonight. And so it'll play 4 or 5 times. I've tried to alter contrast, tried to get a little bit more out of it. I'm hoping you can see what I can see. It doesn't tell us what it is, but bear in mind, that was the night we had just seen the figure, walked to where the figure was, then walked back and stood where we were stood when we first put the torch on. Nobody up there as far as we knew, but there's a shadow. So let's play this. Let's see if I can find it, guys. And if you want me to play it again, well, I might not get a chance, but watch this, see what you think. Let's hold on. We've done chair, we don't want a chair. In this film, I saw something quite by chance that not only shocked me, but also validates what we saw on the cliff tops that night. I put it onto a short loop and allowed it to play 4 or 5 times. See if you can see it. No, you can see that's a poster. I hope, but what we saw.
When you walk this way, you can just see close.
Yeah, what we saw, what we thought there were a figure, but no, you can see that's a poster. I hope, but what we saw.
When you walk this way, you can just see close.
Yeah, what we saw, what we thought there were a. No, you can see that's a poster. I hope, but what we saw.
When you walk this way, you can just see close.
Yeah, what we saw, what we thought there were a figure, but. So, guys, obviously, I can't see a reply from anybody. I'm hoping you could see it. There's definitely something walks in front of us. I can't work that one out. Bear in mind, I've got the torch, I've got the camera. Chris is at my left-hand side. He's not walking about behind me. He's at the side of me. And later in the film, and I'll put a bit of this on when I do the daytime version of that event, my arm goes out and my arm's black. The shadow of my arm is absolutely solid black. And so what this shadow is, and it looks like a figure walking in front of us, in my opinion. And let me know what you think in comments, not necessarily now, because I might not get to them, but later. And I'm going to see whether we can just not alter the shadow, but make the shadow more prominent, because that's as you see it. Okay, guys, let's just go down here a bit. And thank you, Nigel. That's very kind of you. Let's have a look. Oh, we got here. Karen. Hi, Karen. When you and your team have these interactions, have you had any images or mindful words projected in your thoughts? Thank you. We have at times, Karen. We've not done. We'll probably wait till winter folds in, when we do a little bit of meditation, and because we try all sorts of things up there, and at times images you could say that we're just imagining it, but it's a combined lot of images. People are talking about seeing the same things. So things like that have happened. I don't know about thoughts though. I'd have to ask the team to see what their thoughts are on that. It's a good question, that one, and maybe one that, if we do a panel event, Karen, throw that one at us again, if you would, please, because don't ask me to remember it. You know what I'm like. Okay, let's just go down a little bit. Let's have a look. I'm looking forward to having a little bit of a chat with Gerard later, and we shall see what he's got to share with us. Interesting guy. Let's have a look. So, Tim, hi, Paul, hope you're well. Have you ever watched a film stroke TV show that gave you the goosebumps because it reminded you of an experience and brought forward a memory? No, I'm imagining you have to say that, Tim, but yeah, I can't say that I have. I'll tell you what I don't like, besides Marmite. I don't like when you go to opticians and, you're in that sort of dark room and they look at you really close into your eyes. And that I find that really, really uncomfortable, because in childhood, I remember that kind of thing. And I don't like that. But that's not a film, is it? Because that kind of reminds me of being looked at intensely by something that's not very nice, as up close and personal sort of thing. But it's brilliant, isn't it? Films, music, it takes us back to a moment, doesn't it? So not necessarily UFO related, but I can listen to a bit of music and I can remember what I was doing, and it's brilliant. And we can all relate to that, can't we? And yeah, absolutely. Come on, let's have a look. It's great, these questions tonight, guys. Really appreciate you taking time to write them. JG, what are your thoughts, experiences of this phenomena following people home after an experience or encounter? This seems to be referred to as a hitchhiker effect by some prominent investigators. Yeah, and to me, Jay, and once again, it's only my opinion, hitchhiker effect's just a word, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I believe that it's just a thought process away, but it happens. People will have a profound experience, not necessarily where we are, anywhere, and suddenly things start happening in their home. Suddenly they hear sounds, and it's almost as though whatever they've had an experience of, and it could be hundreds of miles away, is with them. To me, that's our ability to connect with the phenomena, and not something that's followed us home, because I think it can be anywhere it wants to be. I really do. We're going to these places where things happen, and as all of you guys in chat know, there are locations, there are semi-detached houses, there are pubs, all loads of places in suburbia where lots of unexplained phenomena manifest. So we don't have to be in remote locations. It just so happens that things do happen in those particular areas, but things can happen just as easily around your own home. And it doesn't all have to be frightening, does it? And not everything's unnerving and of a frightening nature. Some things are really good, but the hitchhiker effect, yeah, I just think it's the thought process away. I think if you've had a profound experience, it's on your mind, it's really strong, and you can connect with the phenomena, and the example I would use, I've used it before, haven't I? That you lose a loved one, a close relative or some close friend, which is always a tragedy. But you're concentrating in thought about that person, and you'll hear people, not on every occasion, but on many occasions, say, "Oh, Uncle so-and-so appeared," or "My dad appeared," or "My mum appeared," or "This or that happened," and they just materialized and then sort of pixelated out of view or disappeared. And are we creating that phenomena, or is it our ability to, because we've got such strong visceral thoughts at that particular time of these particular individuals, this person, this man, this woman, the connection you bridge the veil, and you manage to tap into the other side of the firewall of the unexplained, and sort of, I don't know, bring them through, or they're able to come through. I don't know what the process is, you know. And there's loads of people, there's loads and loads. There's no shortage of experts who will tell you what the process is. And let's face it, we could spout anything. I could sort of write something down and say, I'll say, oh, this, it'll sound brilliant. I ain't got a clue what I'm on about, and none of these people do either, you know. They say they do. And there's enough people with jaws dropping to floor, hanging under every word. So let's have a look. We've got Linny here again. Paul, we cannot see it, although Paul, we cannot see it, although I have seen it in footage you sent me. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I've got it now. I'm thinking what we're on about. You're on about the shadow guys. Yeah, fair enough. I get it. And it is there, but we can't see it in. And I guess that's going to be consensus of people in chat. I get it. We'll make that better. We won't cheat and put a shadow where there ain't a shadow, but we will make that better. It's no great disappointment, guys. Not to me anyway. So because I know it's there. So that's good. Yeah, thanks, Ian. Thanks for letting us know about that. Let's just go down a bit. Let's have a look here. You can buy Wolflands on DVD from the Truth Proof website or eBay, or you can get it from Amazon Prime. Yeah, that's true. And thank you very much. You can also get the Truth Proof books from our website, truthproof.uk, or eBay. I actually prefer eBay, to be honest with you, because it just seems to get a few more guarantees. Not that you're not going to get your books; they'll be posted next day. But I do like those sales. All I have to do is print a label off, and everything's just done for me. So yeah, truthproof.uk for the books, the DVDs, Amazon for the Wolflands documentary, or the Kindle books, and yeah, we've just about covered that, Lee. Thank you. And I may as well say this as well. We've got 400 people in chat, so thanks for supporting us, guys. But if you've not liked and subscribed, just give it a go. It's absolutely free, and it just gives us a little bit of support and appreciated. And it's not too much to ask, I don't think, is it? Let's have a look. Let's have a look, Lee. Hi, Paul. Would you go to Skinwalker Ranch if you had the chance? Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, I think, you know, we'd kind of be mad not to, but I think there's places like this. Probably, I know the area that we look into, and I know what we've managed to capture and the experiences that the team have had. It sounds like a boast, but they're more interesting than what's happening there. I know they are. And when you look at the series and look at the program, and no disrespect to the guys who are doing it, you know, because we've on live streaming past, I've had Jim Segala on, I've spoke to members at team at Skinwalker as well. So, and I know they're fully aware of our location. But where am I going with this? You look at the series and look at the things that they're filming, which is brilliant. It's entertaining. Loads of people love it. But that's the reason I said earlier in this stream. Why don't we show the footage and some of the things that we can actually show and not just talk about, and see how it compares to this incredible stuff that's been released by the governments? Because I don't think it's any better. And what I'm saying is I think we've got better material than what they're putting on these programs. And that goes for all of those programs. It really does. But I don't know. There'll be people sat there going, yeah, you would say that. I see John Paul Bodies in. Good to see you, John. Always good to see you, mate. Got to get John on. Got to get John on here. His experience blow you away, man. Honestly, absolutely brilliant. So let's have a look down here. I think we're just getting close to Gerard coming on. So this has just worked perfect for me. Dizzy Doors. Our video, if it was very fast and close, you could see it. Can you slow it down? What I'll do, I'll make a big effort. Like Linny's right, he's seen it, and team have seen it. I've sent it to him. I didn't know you'd not be able to see it on there, but I'm not going to try and tell you anymore, because it's. I don't mean it's not fair. It's not fair me just pushing this bit of video and trying to make you see something that people obviously can't see. Let me assure you, it's there, and take my word for it. And hopefully next week, I'll see whether Chris Turner or somebody can do a better job on it, on highlighting it, not altering it, highlighting the shadow. Because as I say, I'm stood there, Chris is to my left, torch, camera, we're not moving, and it moves in front of us. But I take on board what you guys have said. You can't see it. That's good enough for me. So thanks for bringing it to my attention, Ian, because obviously I'd not seen any of that. Let's have a look. I remember just after my mum passed, leaving the kitchen light on before I went out and it being off when I come home. Happened the next night as well. I'm sure it was mum letting me know she'll be around. Thanks, Simon. And, you know, I appreciate you sharing things like that, because I know it's these things, it's only light you're talking about, but to you, it's something that's deep and personal. And lots and lots of quirky things like that, isn't there? What's it telling us? Yeah. And you know, what can we say to you? And those are your initial thoughts, and you're probably on the money with it, you know? I don't know what the chair leaning backwards and banging back down on the laminate floor signifies, but it's definitely something that wanted Gemma's attention and a partner. So yeah, fascinating. Davos, what we got here with Davos? Any chance of some truth-proof merch? Lots of us would buy Wolfland's mug. Yeah, I've got to get onto it. And if I'm being truthful, Davos, Sarah, she's the person to sort that out, I think. And where she works, family business, they don't do merch, but they do a lot of clothing for their workforce and what have you. So I'm on about t-shirts and things like that now that she'd be good at, and she could sort all the other stuff. But so yeah, because we've got cups, haven't we? You know, and my friend Mark did these for me, who's been on here, funnily enough. So Mark's had some weird experiences. So yeah, taken on board. And somebody were talking about car stickers and mats and all sorts of things. So yeah, need to get on with that, don't I? Let's have a look. Jules, Quiet Outdoors. Hi, Paul. We are the Jack Russell couple. Oh, after you on the cliff tops. We were walking our dog in our village. We both had an unearthly growl right at the top of a tree. It scared off a pigeon. Wow, that's interesting. So I'm assuming, Jules, that maybe there's too much foliage to actually see up into the tree. Because let's face it, you know, in their native countries, if we were talking about a big cat, if that's where you're going with it, they like trees, don't they? They like to get up high. So yeah, and thanks for that. It's absolutely. What can I say? You know, when I'm in Danes Dyke, you know, the cat that had been seen in Danes Dyke, they're not huge trees in there, but as heads and as eyes, they're on swivels because we're looking up, down, below, all over the place, hoping we could find something, but it's not happened yet. Yet still people report these things. It's like Leven. When I spoke to Nick in the week, we ended up at the side of this little wood, and it turns out it's one of those sites of special scientific significance. And there's some fairly mature trees in there, but it's all fenced off. So I didn't go into the wood, but there's some fairly mature trees in there. Don't forget, he saw it a few years ago. I've just got another report, which I'll be able to fill in some blanks later in the week, all being well, from 2019, from the same location, but trees. You know, these things in their native habitat like to be up in trees. Maybe that's something that you've heard up in a tree. I don't know what else would growl in a tree, do you? Let's have a look here. Jack, Paul, have you had any contact with Brother Littlefoot? I want to do. I've not seen him in here for a few weeks, and I'd really, really like to see Brother Littlefoot get back in chat. If you listen to this and you're not coming in for any particular reason, you're welcome. And please, you know, make your presence known, because I loved what you used to share with us. So yeah, I've just heard a little bleep, which means Gerard's come in, but I'm just going to do one question. Let's have a look. One sec. We'll do two, actually. I really appreciate your work. Wolfland's 2, please. That's up to me and Les. We've got to get on with that. We've done, I would have thought, 40% at filming. So yeah, we've got to get on with that. Last question, then we're going to get Gerard in. There's nothing that's been disclosed so far that is anywhere near as good as what your group has captured. I would agree, Dragonborn. I seriously would. But proof's in pudding. I've just put some footage up of a shadow and nobody could see it. So So, there we go. So let's just thank you, Dragonborn. So now I'm going to speak for the next hour with Garad Pratt, who's the author of Astral Traveller, Guardians of Light and Shadow. Now, he came on, he'd probably be able to tell us date that he came on, but it was at least a year ago, and shared information with us. We never even scraped the surface of what he'd got to share. A really interesting man. And now he's working on his second book, which is the UFO Protocol, Into the Eye of Gnosis. I hope I pronounced that right. He'll correct me if I haven't. And let's get Gerard on, and let's share a bit of information. Gerard, good to see you.
Oh, hi, yeah, you're all right.
I'm good, my friend. Yeah, well, everybody will note on Truth Proof that I just don't sit there reading a full bio out. They'll know what you're about, and they can read all about you in the write up as well. But what you've been working on?
Well, after our discussion yesterday, we had to decide which way we were going to go, because there's that much material to put across, especially with the new book. So I think we're best going into UFO topics tonight, because it's the thing at the moment, isn't it? And I've had a lot of experiences with greys and with various other entities. So yeah, I think that's a good place to go. And maybe next time we could go into like the séances and more ghostly phenomena, mediumship and that kind of thing.
Well, just to throw a spanner in works temporarily, then I'm going to just let you roll with it.
Okay.
Seances and mediumship, and we're not going to stay with it. You're going to roll. But what does spirit say about the greys and otherworldly entities?
Well, you see, with my experience, the whole thing is intertwined. So we have guardian entities, higher entities, which are connected to ourselves, which have directed me towards those others in terms of Nordics and Greys. There's very big crossovers here. But in the actual spirit group that I attend, the mediums tend to see them as good as the star family, if you like. Although one of the main mediums, Samuel, well, that's the actual name of the entity, or the spirit, shall we say.
Yeah.
And most of them are biblically termed. And Samuel sees the greys as some of them aren't to be trusted. Now, for me, when I attend these divine voice sessions and seances, when Samuel's just told me about my trip to the inner earth and nobody knew about it, I have to pay attention to that, because he knows things that he shouldn't know. So, he tells you things, it makes you sit up and listen.
So he knows things that are only in Jed's head.
I think he does it as a warning to let you know. Like, so when me and Margaret went to some one-on-one sessions with Samuel, as soon as he went into or Elena's handles Samuel, it's a bit like Bashar and Daryl Ankara. So the first thing he mentioned is something that went on in our marriage 25 years ago. So when he tells you something accurate that happened in the marriage 25 years ago, I looked at Margaret and she looked at me, and that's okay. So he knows what he's talking about. He's just told us. I'm sure he done it to just let us know, that I'm not talking alone.
Is he doing it to emphasize his credibility?
I think he just does it to let you know that he has actually got some, the accuracy. He knows that there's the timelines, and they do know. And then when he tells you things about extraterrestrials, about what my job is and my journey is, you have to take notice to. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely, yeah.
But we'll come on to Samuel in a bit, because Samuel was involved with one of the journeys to the inner earth, which involves Nordics and the flying the craft experience. So I was getting it from a number of directions. So we had the OBEs, we had the spirit group, and not just Samuel, or mediums as in persons were telling me things. And I'll just throw one in there now before we get going. I had an experience where I met Richard Doty, and he mentioned the Greys in Roswell using some kind of headgear to fly the craft. Right. So you might have been at that conference actually in
Yeah, I were,
in
'cause
Oldham.
I spent some
Yeah.
time with Rick.
Yeah. So you know he was there.
Yeah,
And the same week, I think it might have been a few days later, I turned up at the spirit group, and the message I got, I never told anybody. We don't even speak because if people know too much about you, then you how can you know the accuracy of the of the information? So, and the first message I got was, tell Jed he doesn't need the helmet to fly the craft. He can do it with his mind alone. Now, I thought, so they're watching what's going on. Do you know what I mean? So they must have been listening to the conversation with Doty. And I think this is how, my journey's been, Paul, because, and I don't know if any of the audience are in the same position, but it's synchronicities all the time. The messages tie in. So I have to take notice,
Do you when you say they're watching, do you think that it's almost like the net? They're not necessarily watching, but they're connected to everything.
Yeah, I'm not saying that visually sat there watching. Although doing a lot of astral travel and OBEs, I've been in the spirit, so I've been like them. So you can watch people, but in the terms of they could also look through our eyes as well. And you might have got some buzzing in your ears at times, and things, and you tend to get signals when they're around. But I know that they do see through our eyes because I think they can watch certain things because I've had other experiences where I've been out the body and I've met entities face to face. In fact, this particular entity, we can talk about that later. He was blue, more like an Arcturian type entity. And he actually said to me telepathically, I'm enjoying the programs that you're watching. And people are probably laughing at home now, and I thought to myself, is he seeing through my eyes? So every time I get a buzzing in the ears and a tingling in the crown, I think, oh, they're here,
Yeah. So just to stay with that is enjoying the programs that you're watching.
Words to that effect, Paul.
I realise it's not going to be absolutely per word, but I'm imagining that if this being wanted to, it could watch those programs regardless of whether you were involved or not. So what I'm getting at,
let's not assume that, Paul.
You're assuming. You're saying I'm imagining he's watching through my eyes.
Yes, but I'm not assuming that you can watch them without my eyes.
Yeah, but your assumption is that he's watching through your eyes.
No, he told me that.
He told you, okay, right? Fair enough. So let me play with the assumption. Then I'm wondering if he's doing that, if he's gaining something from your pleasure of what you're watching, your human emotion. That's where I was going with it.
I'll take it another step further. I mean, you've obviously heard the container body theory. I mean, what are we humans doing here? We know a certain level of sentience is attached to us from higher beings. And people say like, oh, my higher self this and my higher self that, or, my spirit. And when what are they actually talking about, Paul? When you sit down and look at this, who is your higher self? What do you actually mean? So when you actually say, well, is there a higher entity that is using us to explore the physical frequency, to do things that they can't do on that spiritual frequency that they're on? Is that what we are? Because that seems to be what Bob Lazar was saying when he read this yellow book. That seems to be what other people are talking about now. So I start thinking, well, maybe they can't see it without us. Maybe we're their eyes and ears in this frequency, but maybe they can. I mean, I don't know.
We don't know for sure, but you're having these experiences, and you've got to interpret it best way you can.
These are the things I think about, Paul. I think and I assess things, and I don't. It's like with the mediums, and I go to a lot of divine voice sessions and things, and I start analysing. Are they really who they say they are? And it's a horrible thing to think that because
No,
but you have to take it because I've been on the Astral. I think we spoke about this last time, where I've had it explained to me how they shapeshift, and I've been out the body and I've seen them whispering in people's ears and telling them sweet nothings, and not everyone's who they say they are. I mean, and I'm not saying if your guides told you that they're Nefertiti or they're Cleopatra, I'm not saying that's a negative thing. I mean, maybe they're doing it to just, if they said they were Joe Bloggs from up the road, you'd probably tell them to get on the bike. But, you know, when they come through and say, well, you know, I'm Einstein or whatever, maybe you give it a bit more attention. So maybe it's something like that where they've got to grab your attention. And you know, I think that's going on a lot. And I've seen it. They told me that as such. I mean, I had an entity who it might have been someone like you, and I'd be out the body and say, "What are you doing here, Paul?" And he said, "It's not really him. I'm just showing you how we manipulate form." And he showed me how they manipulate the form. So again, you know, these are the experiences that I'm having. So I'm not saying I'm distrusting of them, but not everything's what it appears to be.
I would agree, seriously, and I don't think it's a bad thing wondering if we're being lied to or being distrusting of what we're being told, because there's so many times, just to simplify it, that we've thought that we are onto something in the areas where we do a lot of observations, and we don't just do observations. I don't know whether you watched any of this before you came on, but
no, I was making some notes for what I want to bring up.
Winter time, we'll do a lot of meditation while we're up there when there's not as many people around and it's just a small group, and we do get messages, and we without just saying, "Oh, I saw this" or "I saw that," we don't just blurt it out, and we get this sort of herd scenario. We all say, "Oh, I heard that, I heard that." We sort of test each other, and so it. But I guess what I'm saying is that there have been times when we think we know what direction we're going in, and then it just flips and throws you in a completely different direction. And the same with disclosure. I don't want to go down the road of disclosure too much, but how many times have we been told that we're having disclosure, and then goalposts?
The thing is, Paul, who's telling us that we're having disclosure? We're being led by the sheep. The farmer's being led by the sheep. So there's people who think they know, and they're playing at it. They don't really know. You know, as much experience as I've had, I know nothing. I mean, I do know something. But what I mean is, you know, I've had a lot of experience, but I don't assume anything. There's a lot of people, saying a lot of things based on very little input.
You're just saying what I've said 3/4 of an hour since. Similar thing,
right?
You know,
and that's what I see about disclosure.
Yeah, and I would agree with what you're saying. So I don't know where you want to go with it now. What do you want to pick up on next? Because you've made the notes. I'm going to let you run with it.
Well, let's just take something from what we've just brought up about disclosure. You know, you've got people assuming that there's physical bases at the bottom of the ocean. I won't mention names. How the hell does he know? Do you know what I mean? Has he been there? So because we've got craft coming in and out of the ocean, they're now claiming, oh, these bases must be. They're seeing it through a physical perspective. We're physical now, but I know beyond all doubt that we are not physical beings, end of, you know, and I've been told how many lives I've had, all those things. But I mean, last night, before I went to bed, Graham Hancock came on. I don't particularly watch Graham Hancock stuff, and he speaks a lot about hallucinogens, and I'm not going to say the other word because I don't know. I'll probably get you banned. But that's good. I'm very careful what I say now. But you mentioned that the craft are transport for spiritual beings, and this brought me back to something that I've been told. But he said something else actually. He said that they're actually taking these hallucinogens by drip now. And it's gone a bit far, really. But that's another matter. But yeah, this transport for spiritual beings. So I suppose we look at like the book of Ezekiel with the wheels within wheels, traveling between dimensions and things. But I have to agree with him that because some of the things I've been putting over lately, and people might have seen them on my Facebook posts. And chapter 2 in the book is called it's called The Council of Tongues, but I might have to change it.
Is the new book?
It is, yes.
Is the cover remaining the same?
Well, I'll have to wait till my editor.
I've just got a picture of cover. I'll just put it up if that's okay.
Yeah, that should be the cover. That's the cover that I've gone with. But she might want to alter a couple of things. But I don't see why, because
just before you elaborate on the story, when are you looking at this coming out?
I'm hopefully bringing it out at the end of summer. I'd like to have brought it out before, but like you know, when you're using an editor and going back and forth, I mean, I've only just finished the copy edit, so end of summer, I think it should be
Okay.
out.
Great cover. I hope people think that's good, because I
Do you
do.
like it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
just before you jump in, let's just, because we'll run away with hour and this won't get shown. This is your first book.
Yes, the Astral Traveller.
And where's that? Where can people get that?
They can get that on Amazon or through my website at gerardpratt.com.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. And obviously, last time you were on, we featured that book, and that's brilliant. You're giving us an hour of your time.
The first book was it was about exploring the afterlife, and it was about the supernatural, and it was about exploring those realms and the battle between light and shadow, really, about the different entities. And I had 60 personal journals in that book. So and that book was primarily to teach astral projection, which I see as the most important psychic ability that there is. You know, that's where you go face to face with entities. You cut out the middleman. You know exactly who you're talking to, and they start treating you with a bit more. I mean, I'm not saying they don't treat you with respect, but they see you more as someone who can go to them. So it's not just about, you know, them coming to you and doing everything for you. They know that you energetically can go to them, and I think they see that as quite something quite important. So, but that was the groundwork for the second book, really speaking. Although the second book is all ufology based to an extent. I would say to people, the first book is the learning curve. That's how you learn, and then the extraterrestrials will come to you.
Yeah. Okay. Just, you touched on Ezekiel and the wheels within wheels. Ezekiel. Yeah. You touched on that. Do you think that was a visitation that he had, or do you think it was something that he was experiencing within his own mind? Because he says he had a vision.
He had other visions, didn't he? And there was many of them who had visions in biblical times. And there was one of them, was it Ezekiel, who said about he was grabbed by the head and pulled up to the third heaven. I've been grabbed by the head loads of times. And there's a part of my experience is what started happening. I started getting portals, and portals would appear at the back of my head. The vibrations will come, and you go into the in-between state, and you just knew that heavy, that sinking feeling. And I would just drop into it. And I'd find myself doing like a backflip into this portal. But there was times when they came through and grabbed me by the head and I'd put my hand out and they pulled me through. And I know the listeners at home probably think, what the hell
this is the astral body, not the physical.
This is the astral body, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, what happens is when you get these sensations and you feel a rise in the body, you don't start thinking, no, I'm in the astral body now, and you just, in whatever body you're in, aren't you? You don't think about the physical body. You'll be back in it. You basically just go with it, and that's what happens. So whether you float up and go around the room, or whether, I mean, that was initially things you would do: float up, go through the roof, travel around. But for some reason, I think maybe they came through first and grabbed me, and that gave me the idea of this portal behind the head.
How, you probably touched on this last time, but how did it begin then for you? This journey.
Well, yeah, I put some shorts on, short little clips that I've done last night on the groups to give people a bit of a recap. But yeah, I mean, I did speak about, we had the visions, and then there was the craft site when I was a child. And then I had visitations in my 20s and 30s, angelic beings taking me out the bed by the hand and on journeys. And then I had OBEs when I was in the army as well. So they've always been there. But then I started practicing after I had a lot of, shall we say, not accidental, what's the word I'm looking for? Spontaneous OBEs. I had loads of them, and then I started reading the books. If you remember when I told you, the Monroe books, the Bob Peterson books, and I started practicing for the wake-induced OBE, which took about 6 months, and then I started inducing them from the waking state. But, you know, it doesn't just happen straight away. I mean, the portals didn't come till probably 2022, 23. You know, things progress in their time, Paul. They don't just, everything doesn't just swamp here at once.
No,
But,
no. There's a question here, Gerard, so it's probably going to flip you in directions you don't want to go, but let's have a look. Gerard, have you ever got a clear or close-up UFO on video? And if so, what did it look like?
No, I did take a picture outside. Again, someone said, why don't you go and take a picture? The first picture I took, I captured something, but I haven't sent you the picture of that.
Okay.
And it was some kind of craft, triangular looking craft in the clouds, or the beam coming down to the garden. But if I'm honest, I'm not really interested in taking pictures. I'm not really interested in ghost hunting or any of those things. I'm interested in being a sovereign operator and having communication directly. Do you know what I mean? I don't scoot around looking for stuff.
And you're involved in your own proof, but and I get it. It's there.
It's about the experience.
But you're sat here relaying this stuff to us, and it's fascinating. I'm disrespecting anything you're saying. But would you want? No, seriously, I'm not. I'm smiling. But what I'm saying is, would you want to receive some kind of message that you could relay to? I don't know. We've got nearly 400 people here. And this might happen in a month's time. This may happen in a week, and that would put you, or anybody, relaying that information. Think, good God, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the messages I was given was there will be a new propulsion system given to humanity, and it will change the world. So I think this will happen. And it'll happen soon. That was one of the verbal messages I received.
Okay.
I mean, most of the things about evolution of humanity, because I asked why I was having the extraterrestrial visitations, and they said it's about evolution of soul, evolution of humanity, and they said to me, we can stop if you want to stop, we can stop. I said no, let's continue, let's stick with the plan, wherever the plan is. But obviously, I've received accurate messages off mediums, and I've been in the group, and I've had visions which I've given to people. Yeah. But you know, if I'm not like Chris Bledsoe, who's going to commit to a certain time and date where something's going to happen.
No, I'm not asking. I'm not asking that, Gerard. I'm just. Yeah. I just think that it would be. If I could do
nice. Maybe they will. Maybe they will when the time's right. Do you know what I mean? But I'll be honest with you, since I started doing the writing, I've obviously the connections sort of faded dramatically because my mind's elsewhere.
Your energy is
one sort of place. Yeah. But I'll get back there, you know.
But there is a time and a place, Gerard, isn't there, for all these things, and at different periods in people's lives. Not necessarily what you're experiencing, but experiencing with other types of unexplained phenomena is stronger for people at different periods in their lives, isn't it? And like you said, you're writing.
But I'm not even saying that my experiences are for other people. They're for me quite clearly. But, you know, maybe they are. I don't know yet.
Well, that what we're going to say. So what's your role in this? Is it just to be a messenger and tell people that you are having these?
I was told to write the books. It wasn't my idea. You know, it was Samuel told me it's now time to write of your experiences. And I've had visions of them, but they've told me what to write. I mean, I've woke up seeing the pages and things. Or give me ideas as well. So I think they're involved. They haven't said don't do. When I say they said, I mean messages did come verbally at first, and then they seemed to go into your morning or the middle of the night. I'd wake up and I'd receive a message or something. So it's not as if we're having chats back and forth. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that.
I can't see the questions here, and I'm thinking, look, because I'm on it, I'm not looking at YouTube as such, that there might be, Linny might have already put something up, because what you're talking about, I don't think we can do, I definitely can't do to the same degree that you're doing, but we are actually getting visuals and messages, not just where we do the observations, but at home as well. And Linny were on about one other day, funnily enough, when we drove home, and I know he's not going to put details of it up, but he might have already put that up. So I've just got a feeling he might have done. We've got a question here, Gerard. Gerard, are you linking connections changing to more astral traveling with your communications to where your connections are flowing now? Thank you.
Am I linking them?
Are you linking connections changing to more astral traveling with your communications?
It's both. I mean, sometimes when you're out the body, you'll be given messages, and sometimes you'll be given messages during the night when you're not even out the body. And then sometimes I go to the spirit group. I mean, I give messages and I receive messages. So, you know, I know the link is fairly good, because in the meditations I go into like deep theta brainwave states. You start off in the alpha, where you get overlays of information, and then you go into the deep theta brainwave states where you'll get visions. I mean, for example, I put one up recently about the Tic Tac UFO. It had a nuclear missile inside, and that was a vision I received. And the message was, well, I mean, I'm not here to scare people, but they explained to me that that Tic Tac UFO design is designed to be weaponized,
right,
as a weapon delivery system.
I see.
They want to be able to put a warhead over any city within so many minutes for world dominance. That was one of the things he showed me. And that was probably just my psychic sort of, you know, in that meditation stage.
I'll just put, it's not a question, this. I just want to put this up because we just spoke about this guy. So, Brother Littlefoot, good to see you, my friend. I knew you'd been watching. You're always welcome. Always. And let's have a chat. Let's get in touch off here, because I know you've got some great stuff to share. Right, Paul and Gerard, have you had a chance to watch the new Jeremy Corbell documentary, Sleeping Dog? I haven't.
I haven't watched it. No. I mean,
no.
I did watch the Bob Lazar new S4 thing. I did watch that. That was actually quite good. But I haven't watched the Corbell thing. I try not to get too pulled into the those elements of the negative aspects of the scaremongering and the pantomime of it all. Now, I'm not saying they're all like, but there's a lot going. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things. It's easy to get dragged into it all, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know,
I don't know. Just somebody recommending some books.
But I do like Corbell. Don't get me wrong. I like George and Nat Corbell. I really do like some of them. But
I recommend 3 books from Charles Webster Ledbetter, The Astral Plane. You probably read these or know of these.
I haven't read that one. I know about the book. I do know about it.
Okay, thank you. So, you know, we're not afraid to.
I mean, I did start. I didn't. I mean, one of the ways I went with it was I actually read one of the Crowley books, and people will say, "Oh, Crowley," but people don't understand that the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn actually practiced astral projection at a high level, and theosophy. But from a lot of the American OBE authors, they wouldn't even mention that, even though they coined it. They actually started it. So,
okay,
go on.
So Chris from Outer Limits magazine says, if we are in the USA-led disclosure, what is the Pentagon not releasing the better undiscerned? Why? I think that maybe means, why is the Pentagon not releasing the better undiscernible proof instead of all the lesser dross first? I can't answer that, Chris. I really don't know.
Well, I don't think. I mean, I don't think they're going to. People are assuming that they're suddenly just going to hand the files over. I mean, I don't think they're actually going to give the tech over. Do you? I mean, they're not going to hand that whatever tech they've got. This will go on. This isn't over. This is going to go on for a long time.
Even if it's footage of unknowns that they've been, it's incredible footage. I don't think they're going to give any secrets away, are they?
No.
You know, or if it's our own. What if let's assume America's taken incredible gun camera footage of some object, and it's another nation's
exactly.
tech.
A lot of people believe that the things that we're seeing now are all mimics anyway. You know, that they're not sovereign craft. But I think we could go down that road, because if we're saying that the Tic Tac is a reproduction vehicle, then what's the difference? You know what I mean?
I get it, yeah.
But I just don't think they're gonna come clean for a long time. I mean, and they've got something, and they're not going to hand it over. It's going to be
well, any information that they have, you're absolutely right. You're playing your hand, aren't you? And in this world of superiority and superpowers, they're not going to do that, are they? They're only going to give us or give the world what they think will benefit them.
Exactly, and we're sort of pawns, really, and that's one thing that I've been shown out of the body. There
Yeah.
is some kind of people talk about is some kind of unseen war going on, and I would have said no before, but one of the things I was shown by an entity on the astral was that there is some kind of secret group,
Right.
not always what it seems to be, and then you start wondering, well, have they approached other people? Have they approached me?
Do you mean
I
when
mean,
you
what
secret group, are you on about some kind of universal power above all
I'm
world
on about
dominant powers?
a fourth dimensional entity or more than one that's controlling certain humans and getting them to do certain things,
Mm.
maybe for certain elements of financial gain or power. I think they've got a vested interest in the world.
So do you think aliens, as in the physical, are walking amongst us?
Well, not in that way. I
No?
think in many respects through us, maybe.
And I knew you were going to say that. I really did. I knew you were going to say, so working through us, as in looking through your eyes.
Seeing
And
through. So when Bigelow said that they're walking amongst us, the first thing I thought, I didn't think hybrids. I thought, well, we are then. One of the things they told me when because I often ask the question to them, what's the secret? Where the UFO, coming from, and who are the aliens? And the one thing they said to me, well, they kept saying they can't. A lot of the spirits said, I can't tell you. I'm not allowed to tell you. But then one morning the voice said, Jed, they're already us. They're already us. And other things that have happened have led me to believe that they're connected to us. So the Greys, the Nordics, I think they're archetypes. They might be one entity, but I think I'm going down the road of the Greys are fifth dimensional beings, a worker race. They're the honeybees. So they drop down to the fourth dimension. And then they can sort of come in and out of our three-dimensional world. So the S4 craft, I think that's a craft that can move between 3D and 4D.
Right, just explain to people the F4 craft, please.
The S4 craft is the craft called, like Bob Lazar referred to as the sports model. Now that craft, I think, if it is true, if it is a craft, there's little seats in there, so obviously it's for the Greys. There's nothing. If it was a Nordic craft, and I've seen Nordic craft in the astral, and they're more sort of designed for humans. You can see it's quite bare, it's quite basic. So it drops down to the 4D, and then it can move in and out of the physical frequency. When I've traveled the etheric plane, I've actually, seen a lot of these craft.
Okay.
I mean, there's times when I've been out the body and I've been in the garden, and the craft have been whizzing over and performing stunts and things for me, and I just say thank you, and then they fly off. But that was before I actually been on the craft. So that's what they started off showing me. But I did come in contact with a Nordic craft once, and he seemed to be having issues. And he pulled, I think people call it the neural wand, like a pencil-looking device. He had his family with him. And I approached, and he lifted this wand. I said, look, you don't have to worry about me.
And this is when you're out of having an
I was out of the body, and he dropped into because the outer body states, can go to different dimensions, but this was in the etheric plane, which is the first membrane, the slush state between the physical world and the higher dimensions. Is like an in-between state, so it looks just like the physical world. And many people, I've said this before to you, many people who think, I don't like using the word, but many people think they're being taken in their physical body. I can assure you, in most cases, you're probably not. And we know from the free study that 75% of all communication, all face-to-face communication with extraterrestrials, is non-physical. And they've examined thousands of cases. Actually, Steve Mears thought it was 96% of cases, but the free study says 75. So we'll go with that. But there's not many actual physical, I've been in the beam of light under the craft. when I've known I'm out the body, and I've refused to go on the craft. But and if I wouldn't have known that I was out of the body, I would have assumed I was in the physical.
Mm.
You know, and if you wake up and you see an entity next to the bed, most of the time you are actually looking clairvoyantly. You're not actually looking through the physical eyes, but you might be. I mean, I'm not. You know, you'll know the difference.
No, it's interesting. It's, to me, this is interesting because I've thought similar myself. You know, that we're probably not being taken as a lump of meat, flesh, blood, and bone.
Well, you know, from my understanding is that if they want to take you physically, they can. But what are they going to gain from that? Because let's just say, like, they took you physically now tonight. Tomorrow, are you going to be able to take the? Well, I know your kids aren't in school anymore, but what I mean is, you know, are you going to be able to carry on? Are you going to turn up for the show tomorrow night after you've been face to face with physically with the grey? So what they do, they can do things consciously that we can't, and they prefer the non-physical elements of it. It's much more. It's much more better for us and for them. Really, they don't put themselves at risk dropping down physically. I mean, you hear stories about, like, they're shooting them down and they're doing this. I mean, there's a risk factor with them. I mean, I think the elements of the military industrial complex have got, like, plasma weapons and things now, you know. So I don't think it's very safe for them to do it as well.
Right. Okay.
You know.
Question. Let's just have a look at this. Are you okay with these questions?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If time does permit, I would love to know why a person would spontaneously astral project. When I was young, I had to learn control. That was a nightmare, really. Yeah,
well, spontaneous, you know, it is. You've got no control over it, really. So it's when you say, "Why would you?" It's not that you maybe wanted to. Maybe
I would love to know why a person would spontaneously. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, like, maybe if your energy's right, and maybe these higher beings that we spoke about want to push you on, and things can happen. But it does happen, doesn't it? There's a lot of people say, "Oh, I thought I went to the toilet in the night, and I never really." And you wonder, well, why is that happening? I think a lot of things happen in the sleep states, don't they? Disturbed sleep. If you're disturbing the circadian rhythms as well, you can. A lot of my experiences have been in fatigue related states as well. So fatigue can induce, like, it displaces your normal cycles, doesn't it? It throws things out. So that could be a reason why.
What about stress related
again, same
situations in life? Do you find that amplifies these events?
Not for me, but I know other people who've had the kind of experiences due to stress related things. Again, it's like the sleep disruption, isn't it? So yeah, it can. And a lot of people get like, I mean, there's that story of it. I mean, I mentioned the old hag, and sort of incubus and succubus, and you know, I'm not immune to it. I mean, I've been seduced many times, but they're normally quite attractive, the ones. But no, I have been seduced, but I think there's a lot of people have that when they feel stressed and at work and things, and down and weak. And many people could say, well, maybe that's because your energy feels low, and these specific entities get the opportunity to latch on, don't they? So that's another theory.
Do you know? And there'll be people out there, I don't mean necessarily in chat, who will, when they talk about the old hag and people waking up and perceiving this as though it's some kind of dream state, an imaginary state, but it's strange. Wow. I don't think so, because it's strange that the descriptions that people give are remarkably similar.
Yeah, I've had very beautiful women seduce me, and I said, but then you think, have they used glam? Have they used glamour? You know, and you think, but this one particular night, I was getting scratched and bitten, and I looked around, and it was a very witchy looking, horrible, typical succubus type entity, and or incubus was it? Oh yeah, succubus. The incubus is the one for the female.
Yeah.
But and I just used what one of the YHWH, which is the tetragrammatron.
Yeah.
From the biblical days. That's one of the things we teach in the group. They don't like that.
I noticed some of your images that you're showing tetragrams. Yeah.
I don't want to go down the religious road, but
no, that's
it's
fine.
biblical. The Tetragrammaton goes back to Moses' times, and you know, from Mount Sinai, and the YHWH is the words for the original God. But they don't tend to like that. I mean, if you've ever got a dark entity and you're unsure about who the entity is, and you ask them to repeat those 4 letters, and they won't repeat them, it's quite strange. So it's not. I'm not. It's something I'm working with, and I have tested it a couple of times, and it has worked.
Okay. Questions here, probably taking you in different directions than what you wanted to go here, Jed. But remote viewing.
Okay.
Remote viewing is how they know that we have underwater stuff and deep underground based ET.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. They've been told by remote viewers, and that's something I never thought about. I mean, I've seen things remote viewing. I call it traveling clairvoyance, which is the original term for remote viewing that was used historically. But yeah, that's where they're getting it from. So we've got to rely on. But we also had the bases on the moon, didn't we? What was his name? One of the top remote viewers in the book Penetration. And there's been a lot of other remote viewers who said a lot of things.
Yeah.
But again, you know, when I went to the inner Earth base, I understood that it was etheric. So in my model, in my interpretation, these craft aren't sat walking around some base, going down corridors on an underwater sea base. They don't. They manipulate the fabric of our space time, and they're living in another dimension that's connected to this one in my model. But again, I could be wrong.
No, you're just as valid as anybody
maybe
else.
They are. If they are, you know, I'd be the first to buy you a beer. But I think many people would deny that and say I'll be the last to get the beer in. But but I just don't think they're in our physical space. If they can go through mountains in their craft?
Yep.
Why would they sit in a base? I mean, they can exist in a realm that we can't see.
Well, just take that off for a moment. Do you know where we spend a lot of time along these cliff tops, east and north Yorkshire? Talk about Speeton with its 400-foot cliffs and the fact that it doesn't get a lot of footfall, yet we get a lot of UFO-related reports. But we get reports of lights coming out of the cliffs, and it's light, Jed. It's not some kind of structured craft. It's spheres of light.
They would go like Project Condign, isn't it? Which said the plasma entities, and we don't want to digress too much into the djinn and the plasma entities and the smokeless fire. But certainly, John Keel had the theory of the luminous sphere object, didn't he? And in his book Operation Trojan Horse, all the craft really are luminous spheres. That's the only one commonality. So people see thousands of craft, jellyfish, this, that, and everything else. And by the way, jellyfish were in his book in 1971 or whatever it came out. So when we had the Jake Barber team, wherever there was Skywatcher, came out and started to pattern the different craft types, and the jellyfish was one, as if they're reinventing the wheel. Well, the jellyfish was out in Keel's book in the early 70s or late 60s. So I'm sorry, but that craft's been around for a while.
That is brilliant to note, and it's kind of respectful towards Keel. You know, loads of times with the things that I'm talking about, and you see me do these YouTubes, I love pointing out that I've not invented this. I'm not creating my own footsteps in the stand. Most of the time, I'm stepping in other people's footsteps. A lot of this has been done. A lot of this has been spoken about. Too many people just want to own things.
But Keel had this luminous sphere, as you probably know now, because I know you're aware of his work. And see, what I think a lot of the time you're seeing the luminous sphere and the conscious connection. I mean, I come on to that, which I was going to talk about the VEM model of Dr. Joseph Birks, and we spoke about it briefly yesterday. But I've been speaking with Dr. Birks, and he signed off my work in the book for that particular chapter about the VEM. So a VE1 is when two people might look at it, and one might see it, one might not. But yeah, what they do, they will, I was going to say hijack the visual cortex, but it's not specifically a hijacking. It's like we said before, they prefer non-physical contact. So obviously, if they can see in your mind's part spin, the part spin of your mind, and they'll pull out a triangle or another shape. I mean, I think that's what's going on. I know it's what's going on, because when we've had a few of these experiences, and when we've seen the sphere, it stayed as a sphere actually, but our vision was altered. It was pixelated. And I said to my wife, my vision's altered. Something funny going on here. And she said, oh, yeah, mine's the same. Mine's, I'm seeing pixels and things. So I knew this is a VE1, you know.
So, and is that taking place on an individual person-to-person basis?
Can do.
Yeah.
It can do. It could be 3 people might be there, 2 might see it, 1 might not. And that's the VE1. I mean, but I've incorporated this into chapter 3.
And all of this will be in this book.
It's done.
Yep.
It's in there. But
Excellent.
yeah, I want people to be aware of this non-physical element, and a lot of them. The VE2 is where it happens, and they take you to another reality. So they transfer your consciousness to a virtual reality. Okay. And again, and my OBEs can mix in with that, you see, because when I was to Agartha, that's where I thought I was, or on the craft, I would just class it, well, it's a VE2. It's a matrix environment that they've created to deliver a specific lesson or message. You know, you can't, and that, you know, it was originally the CE4. Now, CE4 was a Jacques Vallée concept, because Heinrich made the 1, 2, and 3, and Vallée brought in the 4, and 5 came in through, I think it was Stephen Greer and others within that realm. And then someone's brought in a 6 and a 7 now. But so the 4 was the original abduction or non-physical realm. But Birks has brought in the V1, 2, and 3, which I like, and I've used it, and he's quite happy with that.
Excellent. I want to get through. I can't believe time's flown here. Hi, Gerard. Are you able to easily tell if an entity is being deceptive? Can you tell if an entity is showing itself to you in its true form?
Well, not really. When you're at the body and you're face to face with one, but like when I had my grey encounter in the bedroom, I've had 3 grey encounters, but I summoned the third encounter, and he allowed me to inspect his body, but I wouldn't know. I'm not that experienced to know, really, you know.
And now here's a question. I'm going to put it up, but do the Draco run the planet?
I've never seen a reptilian. I've had experience with greys, the blue Arcturian, and for other entities and hooded beings and things. And there was one mantid being in the group. I've had the greys in the spirit group doing healings and things on people, you know, like taking a liquid from somebody. And I've sat there in a clairvoyant state watching them work on people.
Okay. There's a question from Linny, who's part of our team. And Gerard, do you have any thoughts on shadow figures?
So when we talk about shadow figures, are we talking about like 4D, like negative entities that roam around, and they do exist?
Up on these areas where we spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
I would think over the last 2 years in particular, we've seen them quite a lot. Not just somebody said, oh, I've just seen outline of somebody. We've seen them as a collective. People have seen these figures who have nothing to do with us. Do you know what I mean? And come and told us. So, yes, strange.
Again, I mean, how do we know what we're seeing from the last question? But there's certainly lower level entities malingering around. I've seen them when I've been out on the etheric plane. Well, hopefully, in most cases, you'll go higher and go to the higher dimensions and things. But you know, I don't mind going to the lower astral now and then. You know, but I have seen a lot of negative entities. I've seen a lot of negative entities. Yeah.
Let's have a look. We'll just keep. I'm sorry about the question. I'm not sorry, but I know you want to talk about other things. But you've been good enough.
We don't have to do that now. We can do anything, whatever, you know.
Don't agree with you, Gerard. Some people are physical, taken, but nobody knows everything. But nobody knows everything. No disrespect. And yeah,
no, not taken, because I'm not saying, like I said, 75% are classed as non-physical. There is certainly, and like I did make it quite clear, they can do both physical or non-physical. but I do believe that they do prefer the non-physical. But if the facts read for themselves on the statistics, that at least 75% of encounters are non-physical, then I'm not going to argue with the statistics. So that's all I'm going with.
Yep. We've got another one from Outer Limits magazine. Why does your guest think he was chosen for these experiences and not perhaps someone else, such as a world leader? Interesting stuff, guys. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, well, I don't particularly think I was chosen. I think they offer a lot of people, and because I put the effort in to learn about the OBEs and the astral projection, I think maybe the fit was just good. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the time they look at fear levels and those who are prepared to go the extra mile. And when he talks about world leaders, or she talks about world leaders, I don't think they're really interested in who the leaders are. And we've got to factor in that under my theory, I mean, there's a lot of different lives in this. It's not just one life. We're not just one drop of carbon, and at the end of this life, it's over, lights out. I think we repeat and we have other lives and things. So there's a much bigger picture going on that we don't understand. So somebody might seem important and be a leader and have a big bank account with loads of money, but I don't think it means anything to them.
Do you know, you're just beating me to it. I'm hoping you weren't saying that, because I was going to say I don't really think it means anything. Wealth
to
and
them,
the material world means nothing to them, does it?
Doesn't mean anything to me either.
No.
If you had a suitcase with £10 million in and said we'll take away your experiences, you can go and live, it wouldn't interest me. I mean, there's only so much you can eat or fast cars you can drive. I'm not really interested. These spiritual experiences are much more interesting.
Don't know if you remember, Paul, my brother had something like the old hag dream. I do remember, Nigel. Thank you. And I'm just going down these because we've got 9 minutes. It's just let's have a look, Nigel, again. Are we thinking that consciousness is what bonds it all together?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is the key to it all. I think that's what's going to come out with the disclosure as well. That's what you don't want you to know, because if everybody suddenly knows that they're conscious beings and they can connect and they can get these messages, and that's why it's not me being special. We can all do this, if you're prepared to put yourself out, and maybe some people are better at it than others. I don't know. I mean, that's just the way it works, isn't it? But they don't want us to know that, do they? They want you back on the factory floor at 9 a.m, don't they? They want you back doing the job, don't they?
Well, everything's I don't know whether it's by design or just the way things are, but everything. We're too preoccupied with TV soaps and
exactly
and like you've just said, new cars and double glazing and latest holiday to actually get in touch with the real, the actual reality. As it's an outer reality to most people, because this falseness, this
we live in some kind
that
of
we're in, it's just
we're distracted. We're just distracted from what truly counts. And once you have one of these experiences, enough to make you think and change your ways. And I wasn't always like this. I used to enjoy going out for a few drinks and a few clubs and bars and in the discos and all that. Not that I would now, but I mean, it sort of changed me, these experiences. And that's why I was in the army. I was turning up, talking about crystals and outer body travel, and what's he on about? And that's why I had to leave, because I don't really fit in anymore. The last thing they want is me going around talking about OBEs and stuff.
Yeah, so but it didn't go down well in certain quarters. So the price we pay for vanity, the plastic faces, bring us vanity. So let's just have a look. Dragonborn, let's have a look. When you astral travel or have OBEs, what projection?
Protection.
Not protection. What protection do you use, if any? Sorry about that. I'm glad you saw that.
If I know I'm going to travel, I will say a few words before I go to bed, and I have black onyx. I mean, they told me after I had the grey encounter, I got electrocuted all week. Every time I touched the door, I got electrocuted. But they told me to get black onyx, so that's my go-to protection crystal. But there's also cleansing. I do a cleanse the house once a week, with the sage, and all entities that don't serve my greater interest, please leave, and that kind of thing.
So when you've been on these out of body journeys, have you ever brought anything back that's not been?
We've had this house has been infested, absolutely infested. I've woke up in the night getting poked in the back. I've had times I've been in the kitchen out of body, and then I've been arguing with somebody, and then the next thing I'm back in the body, and this man's come running into the bedroom, grabbing my throat, you know, and but then I've got members of the family that I've seen a lot of spirits activity, voices, but I do a lot of experiments as well. I mean, we don't tend to have that now. I'm a bit more
No.
careful, the old hitchhiker effect and all that. But I have done a lot of experiments. You know, for example, I was out the body and I wanted to know how long, because you don't see the spirits. So I thought I'll get myself trapped in a wall and shout help, help, help. You know, I put my hand out and I was counting 1, 2, 3. How long is it going to take before a spirit takes my hand? And then you feel the hand get taken and you pull you through, and then you speak to them. And a lot of them don't want to hang around, but you may not see them. But I felt if I get trapped in a wall and shout help, will they come? And then suddenly they appear, and they are there. And other things like if you're out the body and you ask to see God, something will happen. I got took to the solar pylon. It was like it's a massive energy form thing. So there's certain experiments you can do.
But when you're doing these experiments, Gerard, and I'm not trying to trick your question here, but you get yourself trapped in a wall and you know what you're doing. Surely they know that you.
No, I don't think so. No, because I'm in the spirit as well, like them. I want to do the same as them. So, but you know, I've done it I tried it a few times, and invariably someone will come and help you. And I don't even know why I thought of doing that.
Okay,
but it's just one of those things.
Agree with Gerard. Life is just a stepping stone, and it continues. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to just push down these questions now. Then, a world leader would have a greater chance of being believed than Joe Bloggs. No disrespect, Gerard.
No, that is true. Yeah, but maybe what happens if the world is meant to be disrupted like this? What happens if it's a learning curve for us all? So maybe the fact that it is disruptive and is always wars and things, it's a difficult place to come to learn. So maybe that's why we're in this state of disruption. It suits them for us to be here.
Now, well, I noticed in the pages that you sent me earlier, and you talked about Ezekiel, and then you talked about the Romans and the shields in the sky, and
yeah. But I mean, if you think this has been going on since ancient times, then how come they've never stepped forward and corrected it? It obviously suits them that this is the state of play.
I'll tell you what, the ancient manuscripts that depict these events that were considered really important, such as the wheels within wheels, such as the shields in the sky.
Yeah.
What I found interesting about them, because I did a short on them years ago and cited quite a few examples, it's almost as though, because the leveling arm is in some instances, it's almost as though they're favouring a certain side.
Yeah, we had that at Troy, didn't we, with the trumpets and the walls of Jericho, was it? They do seem to take sides, don't they? So there's obviously more than one faction. Are they dictating
the way that mankind is supposed to evolve by coming in and being the law in those warring factions, do you think? I mean, if God forbid, if anything went wrong in the world today, I wonder if we'd get some kind of intervention.
Yeah, when you would think what's going on now, they are making themselves more known. And they certainly have in the past, haven't they? There's been times and periods in the past where they've been more present here than they are now. And that could be what's going on at the moment, although I do think a lot of them are mimics. But again, you know, I think we've all got some pieces of the jigsaw. But you know, I don't think anyone's knows everything. I've seen a few bits behind the veil, but by no means, and a lot of what I've said tonight is my own opinion. I'm not saying it's definite, you know.
And looking at this, we've not really even scratched the surface of what you were going to talk about.
We'll do that next time.
What we'll have to do, Gerard, and you guys take note, if you've got my email address, if you've got anything that you want to ask Gerard, or you want to, we'll use it for another stream, and we'll maybe get him back on in a month. How long's before this book's out?
I think it'll be out late August. Because I came on about 6 months ago, didn't I? And we
Is that how I thought it was longer than that.
It wasn't that long. No, it wasn't that long. But yeah, we'll be about. So we'll do another show before, and I'll go on about because what I was going to talk about is in the book. You know, the craft experience, flying the craft, and all that.
Yeah, okay.
And the 3 grey encounters I had, and you know, various other things that are in the book.
Yeah, and I think
we can do that. We can do it.
Than me and you just doing a pre-recorded and putting it out. you know.
Yeah, whichever way they want to do
Well,
it.
no,
you know?
I like this. It's a bit spontaneous. I love the questions. It puts you on spot. It puts me on spot, and I like that run of things, really.
And I know that everyone might, obviously we're all going to disagree at things, so at least we can be, civil about it, and that's great, because my opinions are just my opinions, aren't they? And what do they say about that?
Gerard, I think you're on the same page as myself and a lot of people. And like you just said, we're not going to agree on everything. But if somebody doesn't want to agree with you or me, providing I'm fine, polite about disagreeing. It's a weird thing to say, that, isn't it? But
maybe they can convince me
in the correct way. You're not abusive to a person.
But maybe they can convince me. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. I'm always open for being convinced of another way of looking at things. But a lot of things I have been told by these entities, and like I say, they do lie. They do tell the odd lie now and then. So,
well, we're up to time. But I mean, if there's anything you want to spend 5 minutes on that you really wanted to cover and we've not even touched, if not, we'll get for another time.
No, because you have your hour slot, don't you? It's good to keep it at the times, and we can do it again. We can cover it another time. And we'll, and the book will be probably more or less out then, so that'll probably be better, wouldn't it?
Thank you, Linda, and I think that echoes for everybody. Thanks for coming in and filling us that hour in, and I think it speaks for itself that we've not even touched on half of what you were going to talk about.
It's amazing how quick an hour goes, and you always say this, but it's so true, isn't it? When you're doing this.
So, Jed, I'd like to say thank you for coming and sharing an hour with us. Thanks everybody in chat for staying with us. And as always, it's your stream and I value your support. And we'll either talk after this or we'll talk in weeks. So it's up to you. And I'm going to say good night from myself. And
okay, well, good night, and thank you everybody for being so kind to me.
No, it's kind, no more than you deserve. Take care, mate. Good night.
Thank you.
Is this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this with you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella came in and said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.